Hey guys, welcome to SmackDown Wrestling Reviews. I am your host, Boyze, and we're looking at Fastlane 2019, the last pay-per-view before WrestleMania. It was a very strange pay-per-view because nearly every match had a bit of a change going on with it. So, the scores are going to be quite interesting, to say the least, but let's get on with it. Let's have a look at Fastlane 2019. Let's hit the music. So we're going to look at the kickoff show first, because here at SmackDown Wrestling we also focus on the kickoff shows. So we started off with the New Day taking on Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev. Before we get into the match itself, I just want to say the kickoff show was quite well. Apart from Coach, he was crap, he always is. But they had Christian on the kickoff panel. He replaced Beth Phoenix because she will be on later on the show on the main card as a commentator. But Christian was on there and he was bloody brilliant. I've got to say, Christian as a heel is always bloody great, and he's absolutely fun to watch. He was the best part about that whole kickoff panel altogether. With all that said and done, before the match even started, the New Day were doing an interview. They got interrupted by a stagehand. He said that the McMahon family would like to speak to Kofi Kingston relating to the WWE title match, which was going on later on in the show. So Big E and Xavier go, you sort that out. We'll sort out the match itself on the kickoff show. The match itself was a standard kickoff show type of match. Nothing too spectacular. It was standard in every single way. The babyface team won, which was the New Day. But apart from that, there was a few little negatives which I do need to speak about. At one point there was a miscommunication between Rusev and Shinsuke. I don't know what was supposed to happen, but you can tell something was supposed to happen because the match just came to a complete and utter stop. Luckily enough, Big E and Xavier managed to make it look like it was part of the show. That's really well worked there, guys. You saved that part for Rusev and Shinsuke. But there was another part. There were parts where even Xavier Woods started to do a few botches. Now, Xavier is one of those guys you don't usually see a lot of botches. He's usually one of the bearers of, he's very good in the ring, he knows what he can do, and this was one of the times where a few times he looked like he was a bit preoccupied. And I can understand the storylines is of course focusing on Kofi Kingston, but it just seemed like there was a few times he made a few mistakes, and it very much showed in this match. Another little negative for me for the show itself was an advert inside an advert. What I mean is, the whole concept for the kickoff show is it's supposed to be a kickoff show, and it's advertising the pay-per-view itself, and the match itself is there to get people interested into the pay-per-view. Yet halfway through the match we had an advertisement for the pay-per-view that we're about to watch anyway. I get it, they want to get as much people interested in the match. It was focusing on the Shield reunion part, but we had just seen that promo video earlier on the kickoff show panel, because a lot of it was talking about every single match and showing these promo videos, and that promo video had already been shown. So why would you do that during that match where you take away a little bit from the match, which wasn't, like I said, it wasn't anything special, it was a standard match, but it just does take away a little bit of momentum for the fans watching at home. So what am I going to score the kickoff show match? Well, I'm going to give this a 2.5 star out of 5. I think like it said, it was fine, it was a good match, but it was nothing too special to write home about. This right now leads the scores 1-1 between me and Mr. J. Next up, we're going to look at the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match, where we see the champions, the Usos, defending their title against the former SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the greatest tag team in the world, The Miz versus Shane O'Mac. Again, this was a really good match in my opinion. The Usos were bloody fantastic. They just know how to just perform in the tag team division in a unique way. They are one of the best tag teams. Throughout the whole match, I was like, who's going to be the face and who's going to be heel in this match? The Usos were definitely more aggressive than they usually are. I think they were playing the heel roles quite easily. But no, the crowd were very behind the Usos. Again, it's one of those things where you don't need to always be a heel or a face, as long as you got one team who can be very, very aggressive. And the Usos played that role fantastically. The high points for me was The Miz. The Miz was such a great babyface. I know this is what they're trying to work on. The Miz working in his own town, which it is easier because the crowd will be a lot more, you know, compelled to cheer him on, and they really were. They really were behind Team Miz, and that's fantastic. The whole storyline with Mr. Miz being there, watching on to be the son and Shane O'Mac's good luck charm after he was there at the Royal Rumble, which they, you know, when they won the SmackDown Tag Team titles off the bar. Again, all really good storylines, all little plotting the little seeds towards WrestleMania. Shane O'Mac. The coast-to-coast interception between the Uso. So it looked like, I think it was Jimmy Uso was about to do a frog splash. That both Shane and Jimmy were on the top apron. They're about to, it looked like both were going for each other as a tag team partner. Jimmy went for it. He blinked. Shane jumped after, which caused the coast-to-coast mid-air collision, protecting the Miz, taking out Jimmy. Absolutely, I was like, oh my god, I did not expect that. I expected both to use their top apron finishers to take each other out, and I did not expect a interception of that standard. I was very, very surprised. And then it looked like The Miz was going for a jump again. He's not a high flyer. The Miz does not go top rope very often. He did it earlier on. He was very successful. He took out the Usos. Then The Miz's father was pointing up, telling him to do a high fly move to finish the match off. The Miz listened to his dad, did it. Jimmy Uso managed to hold him down, get a 3 count. He got the victory, which cost The Miz and Shane O'Mac the match. The Miz was very apologetic. He hugged his dad. His dad said, "Don't worry about it," and it was very nice, very touching. Next thing we know, Shane O'Mac turns heel. Very positive right there. Shane turning heel. I've forgotten how good Shane is as a heel. He starts beating the crap out of the Miz. He starts insulting Mr. Miz in front of his face, saying how disappointed his son is, and you know, it was great. The security were telling the Miz's dad he can't come out, and he wanted just to make sure his son was alright. So good storytelling right there. I loved it. I thought the swerve, because I think everyone was expecting the Miz to turn heel on Shane, and it was Shane who turned it. I did predict that. If you look at my predictions video, I did say Shane would turn heel. But it was good. It was a good implosion of a tag team. Now I can't wait to see how this goes up to WrestleMania, with the Miz being the babyface and Shane being the heel. Very much exciting times in my opinion. The only things which really kind of took away from the match in my opinion was the Usos were a second thought. They were champions in this match. They were going in as champions, but everyone was focusing more on the Miz, the Miz's father, and Shane O'Mac than they were on the Usos, who are the current champions. So it kind of made them feel like passengers in their own title match. And the other thing is, Shane O'Mac looked knackered after 10 minutes, and if we're going to have Shane versus The Miz at WrestleMania, I'm kind of hoping we get more than 10-minute match between the two, because the Shane O'Mac as a heel is going to be absolutely fantastic. The Miz as a babyface, give it time. I think he'll be like Seth Rollins. It'll take more time than we expect, but once he finally gets into his groove where he can be The Miz, but as a babyface Miz, not all pure babyface, I mean the character Miz, but with a more babyface kind of role, it will be fun to watch. But I just think it's going to be difficult to have a long-lasting match at WrestleMania, which it has to be, because WrestleMania is the biggest pay-per-view of the year for WWE, and this is going to be one of their big matches. And I want to see how it goes. I want to see Shane O'Mac heel promos now on SmackDown Live. So I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 stars. Very, very good match. Heel turn just really just made it even better. Next up, we're going to look at the SmackDown Women's Championship match, where we see Asuka defend her title against Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose, who pinned Asuka a few weeks ago, so she became #1 contender. There's not really been a lot of TV time involved in promoting this match, and it showed. The crowd weren't very invested in it. I know I was kind of like, how are they going to get this into, to feel like a legitimate... They could drop the belt and let Mandy take it and see how that rolls. But no. I know there was a lot of rumours saying that Lacey Evans, she was going to get involved in the match. Personally speaking, for me, if you want to make a WrestleMania match feel brilliant with a SmackDown Women's title, put Nikki Cross in. Put her in as #1 contender for the SmackDown title. We know Asuka and her have great chemistry. If you look at their NXT run, you could easily use one of their matches to go, right, we're going to do that, but in a bigger stage, and see how that goes. I think it would work out absolutely fantastic. But this match was legitimately nothing special. The best part about it was that Asuka was the victor. Everything else was just paint by numbers. Sonya Deville got involved a few times when the referee wasn't looking, and apparently it was Sonya's fault that Mandy had lost the match. For me, if you look at the replay, Sonya Deville goes onto the side apron, she gets a kendo stick out, the side apron bit is up on the ring. Mandy apparently slips on it, but if you look at the replay, her foot's nowhere near it, she just falls over. And Asuka kicks her in the face and she goes down for the free count. Sonya Deville feels sorry and all this lot. Is it the implosion of a Sonya Deville Mandy Rose? Are we going to see Sonya Deville turn babyface? Why not? I've been saying it for a few months before Evolution that these two need to separate, and I think Sonya would play a great babyface role. We also had EC3 speak properly for the first time, and his first thing was chatting up Mandy Rose. So I guess he's got Corey Graves' new job then. But yeah. So what am I going to give this match in particular? I'm going to give this a 1.5 star. Like, there was no build up to the match beforehand through SmackDown. The slip was just Mandy falling over. But Asuka wins and she's going to WrestleMania as the SmackDown Women's Champion still, which is a good thing. Now give Nikki Cross #1 contendership, and let's all be happy with that. Now this moves us on to what's going on with Kofi Kingston. Like I mentioned earlier on in this video, Kofi Kingston was told by a backstage hand that the McMahon family wanted to speak to him. Kofi's waiting outside the McMahon family waiting area. Big E and Xavier's going, what are you doing? Why are you still here? It's been an hour since we've seen you. What's going on? He goes, I don't know. They've been telling me to wait and wait and wait. Big E and Xavier Woods just barge in. They drag Kofi in. Mr. McMahon's on the phone. He goes, Kofi, where have you been? I've been waiting an hour. And Kofi's like, well, you told me to wait outside. I've been waiting. And Mr. McMahon gets a hell of a lot of information shouted at him by both Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. And Big E, they're all there just laying the case for Kofi to be put into the WWE title match. Mr. McMahon seems to change his mind. He goes, fine Kofi, you're going into the title match. It's going to be a triple threat match. Kofi runs down, but he goes, Big E, Xavier, you are banned from ringside. And we'll make it a triple threat match for the WWE title. But your match starts now, and get out there. Kofi goes running. Everyone expects it to be that's the WWE title match. They announce Kofi, and then he's about to announce Daniel Bryan or Kevin Owens, and another stagehand comes out and says that the title's been changed. The match has been changed from a triple threat match to a handicap match, and it will be Kofi Kingston taking on the Bar. Yes, it looks like the evil McMahon family are back at their old games again. The Bar. This was not really a match. Kofi Kingston did get a few offensive moves in, but it was legitimately, we're beating the crap out of this. I understand they're telling a story, and that is fine. It's building up to Kofi Kingston going to WrestleMania, and I will finally take that. I will be happy to take that. And as a fan, that's fine. But it's just, when Big E and Xavier was started to come out to stop him, Rusev and Shinsuke Nakamura prevented them, and it just went, League of Nations Part 2, It's the part 2. Sheamus is usually a grunt for the McMahon family. Shane's just turned heel. Does that mean Triple H is the only babyface in the authority figure right now? Because it seems like it. But yes, it was just legitimate. But Kofi got a few bro kicks in the face. Cesaro and Sheamus did pin him together with a foot over his head, and that was it. The crowd were not happy with this. They were not happy. It was a great work on the crowd. It was a great swerve, and I can understand why they're doing it. But as a match, there was nothing to it. It was just a beatdown on Kofi Kingston, which is obviously leading to a good storyline. So for me, I am going to give this a 1 out of 5 stars. This match wasn't part of the card earlier, so we're not counting it. So right now, me and Mr. J are even on points, so I will have a point somewhere on here, somewhere. But yes, 1 out of 5 star. Next up, we had the Raw Tag Team Championship match where we saw the Revival versus Aleister Black and Ricochet versus Chad Gable and Bobby Roode. This was a huge triple threat tag team match, which was bloody brilliant. Pros throughout the whole match. Every team looked absolutely bloody fantastic. I loved it. There was no team which looked out of place. No one looked like they were out of place at all. And it was great. It was a great match. Aleister Black and Ricochet are just stars. Just stars. Another thing, another positive. I honestly think Ricochet is Spider-Man. You look at what he can do. There was a bit where he jumped over the apron and Chad Gable tags him, but he's still looking in all like, oh my god, he's just, what the hell have I just seen? And that's why it was just legitimate. Like, even the crowd were like, oh my god, Ricochet Spider-Man. That's how it looked. He took out Bobby Roode doing that. The Revival were fantastic. I know a lot of people have been criticising WWE booking, including myself. I've been saying it as well, that the Revival not winning on TV makes them feel weaker. But when it comes to big matches like this, and they do win these big matches, that's fine. That's kind of repairing a lot of the damage which the TV writing has caused. But then someone reminded me, look, the Revival didn't win all the time on NXT. Quite a few times on the TV before takeovers, they did get pinned or get defeated, and that was fine. Because when it came to the takeovers, they were legitimately the team to beat. And I can agree with that. I do agree with what that person said, because end of the day, it makes sense. You don't always need to win on TV because the titles aren't on the line all the time on TV. But when it comes to the big pay-per-views, when you have to defend the titles, that's when the Revival show up. That's when the Revival show up. And that's great. Aleister Black and Ricochet are not tag teams. They're not a tag team in my opinion. Just put them as singles competitors because they're so good. Don't get me wrong, they were fantastic in this match, but I want to see them as singles competitors. Revival winning was the highlight for me. I wanted them to win, and yeah. And it was the right decision having Chad Gable take the pinfall in my opinion as well, because end of the day you want to protect Ricochet and Aleister Black. After the match, Chad Gable and Bobby Roode did attack the Revival and then tried to attack Aleister Black and Ricochet, but Aleister Black and Ricochet did fight them off, which was great. Made them look really strong at the end of a match. They might have lost, and that was their first defeat on the main roster as a team, but everything else was perfect. So what am I going to give the score for this match? Well, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 stars. I think that's a fair score. I think the match after this was a little bit better, but it was a very, very good match. Next up, we had a fatal 4-way for the US title. That's right, another match which wasn't added, which was just added onto the card that night. This was supposed to be a kickoff show match, which was supposed to be Rey Mysterio and Andrade continuing their feud. But earlier on the day on WWE.com, Carmella was going around trying to get people to sign a petition to send to the McMahon family to get R-Truth a singles match for his US title rematch. Because obviously rematch clauses are no longer a thing, even though we still get quite a few of them on current WWE. But Her and Zelina Vega start arguing over who's going to get a US title shot. Samoa Joe overhears. He says he's going to take on everyone yet again. And I like the cockiness. I like Samoa Joe as champion because he feels like a legit dangerous man. He's not scared of having big matches like this. I've got to say, everyone looked bloody good in this match. Samoa Joe is an absolute beast, in my opinion. He's like, there's a rage mode on Samoa Joe, and he triggers it, and he just destroys everyone and everything in his path, and it's just absolutely beautiful to see. Rey Mysterio de-ages in matches, in my opinion. Because he just gets better and better and better. And there was a lot of a match where it was Rey Mysterio and Andrade who were the figureheads in this match. They were the workhorses for the majority of this match, and I am happy to say that was a good thing. Because that was also a fantastic bit. Their little rivalry costing them the match. Because obviously Andrade wants to defeat Rey Mysterio, a figurehead who he says is one of the biggest influences in his career, and he's using the Eddie Guerrero things, which is, you know, we've seen this before, but I think Andrade brings that little bit of, he has that heritage as well as, you know, a former Mexican wrestler like Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. So him using Eddie's moves, the Three Amigos, was just, you know, it feels great. I don't mind Andrade using the Three Amigos because I would love to see him use that as his finisher as well. Rey, like I said, just de-ages in these matches. R-Truth was really good. Again, I was happy that R-Truth was in this match. I think a lot of people forget R-Truth is a great competitor, and he did the smart thing. He wasn't in the match a lot, and he didn't get pinned. Again, R-Truth hasn't been pinned to lose his title. The US title. He's always been safe, and that's interesting. They've never really, and I wonder why they've done that. But R-Truth came into very specific points in the match, and he really helped mold where the match was going each and every time he was involved. Samoa Joe did win. He did retain the title, which again I think was the right decision. He just took out Rey Mysterio when everyone was taken out by the end. It was like an absolute destructive match. The only negative was, for me, that we already saw this match on Tuesday night. So going back to it, was this a better match than what we got on Tuesday night? Yes. It had a little bit more time, in my opinion. Everyone got to show off a lot more in this match. But it was very similar to what we got on TV. So that was the only negative for me. So what am I going to score this as a match itself for a pay-per-view? For me, it was a 5-star TV match. But I think because it is a pay-per-view match and we had seen it recently on SmackDown just on Tuesday night, I'm going to give this a 3.5 star. I think it was better than the tag team match on Raw, but I think it wasn't the best match of the night at all. Next up, we have the WWE Women's Tag Team match, where we saw the champions Bayley and Sasha Banks defend their titles against the #1 contenders Nia Jax and Tamina. First things first, Bayley is MVP for me in this match. She was absolutely fantastic. Sasha Banks did really well as well. Tamina, yeah, I'm going to put a negative straight away in this. Was Tamina never felt like a threat in my opinion. But yeah, it was a standard tag team match, and that's neither a positive or negative for this. It's the first time this title's been defended, which is a big historical moment. But for me, Bayley was just the best bit. She had chemistry with everyone. Nia Jax botched a bit as well during the match, which kind of took away from the match for me. Sasha Banks, again, she did quite a bit, but she wasn't as influential in the match, which I was expecting Sasha Banks to be. But no, Bayley has become a tag team specialist in a very short time. But with all that said and done, like I said, the big highlights for me for this match was, it was a standard match. The babyface team won. That is fine. I'm happy to say that. But it was the aftermath of the match. So Nia Jax and Tamina attacked Bayley and Sasha Banks after they retained the titles, which gives them more heat. Then they started to get in front of Beth Phoenix, who was doing the commentating. Like I stated earlier on in the video, she was doing commentating for this match. Tamina started mouthing off to Beth Phoenix. Beth Phoenix had enough and started beating the crap out of Tamina. Tamina and Nia Jax started double teaming. They started beating the crap out of Beth Phoenix in the ring. Natalya runs out. A reunion of, you know, the Glamazons, which was great. I don't mind that. They take on Nia Jax and Tamina, but they overpower Natalya and Beth Phoenix, and they come out looking the strongest. Could we see Beth Phoenix's return to in-ring action? I hope so. Even if it's only for a short reign, it would be great to see Natalya and Beth Phoenix challenging for the women's tag team titles, because it would add more legitimacy to those titles, having former champions like Beth Phoenix, who's a Hall of Famer, to hold that title. So what am I going to give this match? Like I said, it was a very standard match, but it was good to have that, you know, Beth Phoenix return maybe. So I'm going to give this a 2.5 star. I think the match itself was standard, but having that post-match beatdown afterwards just really, really helped elevate the match a little bit more for me. Next up, we had the WWE title match, where we had Kevin Owens challenging the WWE, the new Daniel Bryan. He was accompanied to the ring by rolling his muscle, or as he likes to say, his intellectual equal. Before the match even started, the commentator did announce that it will be a triple threat match, which worked the crowd, because we all thought it would be Kofi. No, it wasn't Kofi, it was Mustafa Ali. Good surprise, good swerve in my opinion by WWE writers. The crowd did not appreciate that though. They really, Ali did not get any crowd support. And then, until the end, he did get a little bit of crowd support, but majority of the match, every time he was involved, he got booed, and you knew Mustafa Ali was not used to it. But he must have been told when he was going out there, you're going to get booed. It's because you're not Kofi Kingston, which isn't Ali's fault. He's not Kofi Kingston. He must have known, I'm going to get booed, and this is going to be the most painful, crowd I'm going to have to endure for some time. Kevin Owens was absolutely fantastic. He was probably the most liked one in this match, because he worked the crowd. The crowd did like Kevin Owens. I think the crowd accept that Kevin Owens is a #1 contender as well as Kofi Kingston. That's fine. The stunner, Kevin Owens' stunner, I'm going to talk about that because it is an absolutely fantastic way to give Kevin Owens a new finisher, which the crowd will love, because not a lot of people, I think the last person who kind of used the stunner as their finisher for some time was Eugene. But Kevin Owens it feels like a legitimate wrestler for that. So it's like, someone who's legit using the stunner feels a lot more destructive, in my opinion. Ali had an amazing match. No matter what the crowd was doing, Ali had the match of his career, in my opinion, in this. He was high-flying, he was fantastic. He really, really worked his arse off, and it was great to see. Roland didn't get involved in the match as much as I was expecting. I thought he would do a lot in the match, but no. It was near the end, it was quite predictable he was going to get involved in the match, but not as much as I was expecting. I thought he would save Daniel Bryan a lot, but nope. Just near the end, he took out Kevin Owens, which was fine. It saves Kevin Owens, it protects him. He didn't get the pinfall, which is fine. The knee to the face during a mid-air. Oh my god, that was amazing. That was just like, what did I just see? Again, Daniel Bryan, you might not like the character he's playing, but with moves like that in the air, with someone like Mustafa Ali, again, like I said, had the match of his career, in my opinion, was just brilliant. It was absolutely bloody brilliant. But I know a lot of people online were a bit negative to the Cleveland crowd. For me, I think the crowd did well. They got worked, and they used that to chant for Kofi Kingston. We want to see Kofi Kingston as a WWE Universe. So if the crowd at the show are going to keep chanting Kofi, that's fine. That's up to them if they want to do that. I know us in the UK, we would be singing songs about Kofi Kingston instead of just chanting Kofi Kingston. But the match itself was great. Daniel Bryan did retain the title. Kevin Owens was protected. He didn't turn heel, which is good. And Mustafa Ali had a match of the night. for me. So, what am I going to score this match? Well, I'm going to give it a 3.5 stars. I think it was the match of the night in my opinion. I think the crowd got swerved so many times because I was expecting either Sami Zayn or Kofi Kingston. I was not expecting Mustafa Ali to come out, and that was a great swerve by WWE writers there. So, like I said, 3.5 star, entertaining, good match. Match of the night for me. Next up, we had Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. Becky wins. She will be added to the Raw Women's Title Match at WrestleMania against Charlotte and Ronda Rousey. This match, there was only one positive, and that was that Becky won. The match itself was like 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes. I actually checked the time stamp for myself, and I was like, oh, it's 10 minutes long. Right, okay. It really wasn't. Charlotte was a great heel in this match. She worked the legs, and when it looked like Charlotte was about to win the match, win the figure eight, Ronda Rousey, with the worst run-in in history, comes running in with the worst punch. Tap. Oh no! Becky's going to WrestleMania, and just like, I thought you were heel. You just did a babyface kind of move, which got the crowd happy because Becky's going to WrestleMania, and it's just like, and it wasn't even a hard punch. It was like the finger poke of doom. You could have just done that and go, and that was it. It was just like, right, okay. Yes, and the worst thing is, we had all this, we had this all build up, and that was it. That was the match, and I was like, that's it. The biggest storytelling match of the whole pay-per-view, and that is it. That is like a kick in the nuts if you're a wrestling fan. I was just shocked. I was shocked when I saw that. What am I going to give us a score? I was going to give it a 1, then I realised Becky's going to WrestleMania, so I'm giving it a 2. Because Becky's going to WrestleMania. But everything else, I was annoyed that Charlotte did not do a post-match beatdown. Because she's meant to be the heel. Nothing. She just walked off. Like, alright, yeah, that's it, my match is done. Right, I'm going to go home. And that was it. So yeah, 2 out of 5 stars. Becky's going to WrestleMania. I keep saying it, but it's the only good part about this match. During the whole pay-per-view, we had Elias playing songs about each and every match nearly. Talking about big events. He didn't get interrupted until this part near the end. He was the last bit before the main event of Fastlane. And he goes out and he sings about, Becky Lynch going to WrestleMania, or Miz getting betrayed by Shane O'Mac, how Cleveland sucks and all this, the typical Elias songs. Lacey Evans interrupts him. They've got rid of the military stuff on her entrance now. She's now just a Southern Belle. Okay. She goes up and down the ramp. Pointless again. I don't understand what they're doing with that. And Elias looks really confused. He gets RKO'd. I mean, Randy Orton's about to celebrate an RKO out of nowhere. And AJ Styles with a phenomenal elbow to Randy Orton, which has been building up for the last few weeks, which is, Randy Orton interrupting AJ Styles when he's being interviewed backstage. He said, I'm going to take Randy Orton out when necessary, and he did. So, there's not going to get a score because it is building up to Randy Orton versus AJ Styles, which I'm hearing could be AJ's last SmackDown match before he goes to Raw. Yes, rumours have it AJ will be moving to Raw after this superstar shake-up, which could be a big shake-up for AJ. But yes, Randy and AJ, yeah, let's build it up. There's no score because it wasn't a match. It was just Elias getting RKO'd, AJ taking out Randy Orton. Nothing really. It's building. It's putting seeds in for WrestleMania, in my opinion. Last but not least, it's our 6-man tag team match, which involves the Shield taking on Drew McIntyre, Baron Corbin, and Bobby Lashley. No Leo Rush because he got taken out by Braun Strowman earlier on this week on Raw, so he was not at Fastlane. Thank God. This was a really, really good match, in my opinion. A good way to return Roman Reigns, protected him. He didn't really do a lot of work. He worked with Baron Corbin, who for me seems to be now a guy you can really use as a tester to see how people are reacting on their returns. He worked really well with Roman Reigns here. Seth and Dean were fantastic in the ring. It was like they hadn't missed a step as a team at all, and that was fantastic. Drew McIntyre, he's just a psychopath. He's so good in the ring. It was just, amazing. So, and even Bobby Lashley looked good. There was a great a crowd brawl outside near the kickoff show area where Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose were taking out Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley. It was like back and forth, beat down on there. That was absolutely great. Seth to the stomp to Bobby Lashley to take him out. That was, again, the whole match was, would Roman be alright? And that was the big thing for me. 6 months away from wrestling, fighting cancer, and he does a fantastic job. He absolutely kills it. It was probably a really good... And the crowd was so behind him. I want to see how long that will last. In my opinion, it might take some time. But it was a hell of a match. I think the only things which really kind of took away from me was the talk about Dean leaving. Now, it really, for me, they talked about it quite a lot, and it was like, it's a work. It's a work because they're talking about it so much in this match. Or he's turning heel on Roman. That was the only two things which were coming in my head when they were talking about it. It's either it's a massive work, or he's going to turn on Roman Reigns. And we have no idea. It really... And that was the big thing. This match was great. It was a fun match. And I'm going to score it like it was a fun match. If this is the last time we see the Shield together, fantastic. It was a great way to send off the Shield. Because it was brilliant. Roman looked good. Definitely going to take some time for him to get back into top gear. But he looked sharp in this. Dean, it was good to see Dean perform really well. He's worked his ass off for this company for a long time. And if he is going to go, good send off for him. And Seth looked absolutely amazing as well. Drew McIntyre, the only thing is, the big thing for me was there was a lot more questions than answers in this match. Mainly because we don't know what's going to happen to a lot of big names. Right, so right now we know Bobby Lashley's got a Intercontinental title match on Raw on Monday, today. But we don't know what's going to happen with Dean, Roman, Drew or Baron going to WrestleMania. Seth is sorted. He's got his Brock Lesnar title match. But everyone else, there was a lot more question. What's going to happen to Drew McIntyre? Where's he going to go going into WrestleMania? Because he deserves a WrestleMania match. Dean Ambrose deserves one last WrestleMania match. Roman deserves even a small match at WrestleMania. Baron Corbin, I don't think he's a great wrestler, but I think he's so much improved. He does deserve a WrestleMania match. So it was all these questions. Where are these matches going? Are we going to get a big match for WrestleMania? What's going to happen with Dean? Is it a work? There was a lot of questions going in after this match. It was a great feel-good moment with the Shield signing off, hugging each other at the end. But so many questions for me. I'm going to give this a 3.5 star. The match itself was so much fun and it was a good way. If it is the end of Dean Ambrose's run in WWE, fantastic way to send him off. So yeah, 3.5 star. And there you go, guys. That was Fastlane for this year. What did I think? I think this was definitely the best Fastlane pay-per-view we've ever had. It was very much a fun pay-per-view. A lot of swerves, a lot of changes, and let's be honest, Shane turning heel, smart move. Beth Phoenix maybe returning, brilliant. But a lot of questions as well. What's going to happen to WrestleMania? They've only got 3 weeks left to build on this, so we'll have to wait and see. But I'm very, very excited to see where this goes. What am I going to score Fastlane as a final score? I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 stars. I definitely think this is the best Fastlane pay-per-view we've ever had. But so much fun. So much fun. The only downfalls for me was the Mandy Rose Oscar match. I think that was very poor. I think the Charlotte Becky Lynch match was quite poor as well, but everything else seemed to work out quite well. But what was your favourite part of Fastlane, guys? Leave it in the comments below. If you do like our videos, don't forget to like, subscribe, and press that bell to keep notified. If you want to follow the channel on Twitter, you can do. It's at Smack Talk YouTube. If you want to follow me on the old Twitter, it's at Boyze88. And I'll see you guys next time on Smack Talk Wrestling Reviews.